But wait, there's more. For everyone who signs up for the California Grid Down Survival course, we will bring them into the Civilian Protector Project. So you'll get access to the Civilian Protector Project via the Protector Nation. That is a library at this present time of over 70 hours of personal protection and emergency management, disaster preparedness content. That is a library taught by over 24 of the world's most elite instructors on various different subject matters. Everything from situational awareness to unboxing your first firearm, to dry firing at home, to blade work, to medical. It's all in the Civilian Protector Project, and I'm so excited and honored to bring you guys in, everyone who joins the California Grid Down Survival Training course. So look forward to that. And by the way, I'm going to continue building that library. This is only just the beginning. So with your sign up, with what you're paying for the California Grid Down Survival course, you will also get access to the Civilian Protector Project. I look forward to seeing you guys inside the Civilian Protector Project social media platform here shortly, and training with you for this upcoming California Grid Down Survival course. Let's go.
Boom. Boom. What's up, you guys? Welcome to the podcast. I have an amazing guest today. Very, very accomplished tactical shooter, tactical all the things, but also an amazing woman of God here, Jade Struck. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's an honor. It's a privilege. You're a name that's been out there, and you've been doing things in the tactical industry for quite a while. You've accomplished quite a bit. And one of the main reasons I wanted to have you on here, not just because we did crush Jesus and Beers a few months ago at SHOT Show, which was an amazing experience. Send it.
I was thinking it's funny that we just got out of Father's Day yesterday, and then we're sitting here talking today, because I was like, that's God's timing, because we did Jesus and Beers on fatherhood 4 months ago.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Heck yeah, I didn't put that together. So just real quick, you guys, in case you haven't noticed, so I've been doing a podcast with Steve Prouse and the Fifth Watch, or is it the Fifth Horseman? It's Fifth Watch.
Fourth Watch, Fifth Horseman.
Fourth Watch, Fifth Horseman. I'm dyslexic. You ain't got to be perfect to be used by Jesus. So anyways, check him out. Super awesome. Juggernaut for Jesus. But also, we did a Jesus and Beers series, and it's super just relevant. The name's provocative, right? Just like Jesus, like, let's go. Let's be real here. And Jade was on one of the episodes, and we had an awesome time in it. And a lot of what we talk about are masculinity and spiritual issues. And she brought a feminine perspective, which was really absolutely priceless. Something we could have brought to the fight, to the party, to the conversation, which was epic.
The priceless part was I went back and watched it, right? And Steve asked me a question about, like, how do firearms line up biblically, right? And what we do line up biblically. And I didn't even answer the question, right? I just went off on what I wanted to talk about. And then you came in and you're like, I'll answer the question. And I'm like, thank you. I need a man to answer that question, because I had a different answer for something that you didn't even ask, So I appreciated that. I went back inside and I was like, okay, Byron came in and answered it for me.
Heck yeah. That's how the team works. You know what I'm saying? We just find work. You're carrying something, you need to deliver it. You deliver that. I'll hit the targets. We just keep rolling,
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking today, I was like, what could I possibly have to offer or add to the work that you do? You know what I mean? Because I have my, I teach my intro to personal safety courses and firearm stuff, but I watch your tactical protection reviews, and I'm like, dude, it's just like you're operating at such a higher level. And I think that there's of course, there's blessings in who are we supposed to serve. And even with your articulation, I'm like, this guy obviously has, been there, done the thing, got the t-shirt. But, I was thinking, I was like, what do I have to offer? But I think that's how God gives us gifts too, is like, I'm going to have you, go to the beginners. And then when they need to step up, I'm like, you're going to go to Byron. You're going to get out of my house. You're going to go see the other guy, which is cool.
No, it's super cool. I think there's a very serious lesson in that I've spoken with a number of people on, and that's really just one, don't despise small beginnings ever. Like David
Right.
had to like go ahead and get his stones. Like how many times do you think he shot this was slinging stones back there while he was tending sheep? See what I'm saying? And if
Right.
he would have been like, it's just me out here, all my brothers are inside, they're at war, I suck, I'm scrawny and I'm little and I can't do anything, and he didn't
Right.
practice, you know, he was out there by himself, probably scared as heck, and he said, I killed the lion, I've killed the bear. Now I'm gonna kill this. He was out there,
Hmm.
and lions and tigers and lions and bears attacked him. Like he was like, I have to figure something out. So I just want
Right.
you guys listening to, you know, to take from this, like, hey, if you're a yellow belt, you can help the white belts. If you're a blue belt, you can help everyone. If you're a brown belt, you can help. You don't have to be a black belt. I'm not a black belt, you know. And
Right.
when I started this game, like a decade and a half ago, trying to contribute, because that's all I was ever doing. I was like, well, let me just try to give some value to folks. I just had to
Hmm.
look at myself and be like, I'm not the man, but I do got some things what people haven't might not have because of my experience. And then you find out who you're called to and you just give your gift. Just
Right.
just give. And you'll be surprised the people you touch, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I think like, as iron sharpens iron, so friend sharpens countenance of his friend. Like,
Yep.
you know, there's definite like with people, and I always felt like, look, I can be a great instructor when I was just starting out because I'm like, I just learned how to do this like yesterday. Like I remember what it felt like to not know what to do with your non-dominant hand.
Right.
And like how do and I remembered so clearly the first time I shot a pistol and being like, I hate this and I don't want to do this anymore,
Yeah.
because I'm like, this is not fun. So I remember, you know, so freshly what it was like to not have to what I had to do to make up for like a lack of strength here and there. And and so when you kind of gain distance from that starting place and you kind of look back and you're like, oh, I remember what it was like when I just started, and you get to interact with the younger and the older in the field, then it also helps you remember what it was like back then. Like we always say, like, no stupid questions, because somebody's probably thinking it as well, or it might be something that we haven't thought about in a while.
Yeah.
And it's like, nothing goes without, it's not wasted,
Right.
especially when we're talking about learning and teaching and like edifying and fortifying and building, like everything is used in the environment.
100%. No, I love that. Absolutely. And teaching is the best way to learn, you know. So I
Hmm.
always go back to like willingness is so important, you know, like
Right.
I could preach,
Attitude.
I could go off on that, but I'm not going to go too crazy. I'm just
Mhm.
saying being willing, you know, to give what you got is how you get more. And that's how you make your gift something you can serve the world with. And you've been doing that. How long have you been instructing people since Pimpin
Six,
has
6 years.
6
6 years.
years? Awesome.
No.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like 20. Yeah, maybe 7 years.
Heck yeah.
It's weird that time just keeps going. I'm so used to being like young,
Yeah.
and then I see these young kids, and I'm like, you're a child, and they're like 21.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh gosh, dang. I'm like, gosh, dang,
Yeah.
it's happening.
It's
You know what I
happening.
mean?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
38 and I'm like, yo, I'm almost 40. I did post something the other day about Leonidas, who was 60 years old when he
Was he?
rolled in. Yeah, he was 60 years old. I was a 60-year
Wow.
old man. Yep. I was like, man, let's go. I love getting older, to be honest. But anyways, what were you gonna say?
But I was just going to say, I praise God for men like you, because when I was talking with some Rudy's old instructor from sniper school, which
Yeah.
was awesome, he came through town, and Rudy and Dan were Marines, well, they all are, right? But
That's how Marines
they're
roll.
recon. Yeah. But, we were talking about the older generations, like, World War II, World War I, where young men, young boys that were like 15, 16 were forging their parents' signatures so that they could go fight in war and defend
Right.
their
Yeah.
country.
Yep.
Right. And so it's like you look at now and you say, oh, I'm 38. And it's like, I know, 43-year-olds that I'm like, brother, you got to get it together.
Yeah.
And so I just like praise God because you're still a young man. You're not even 40 yet,
I know.
and it's like, and thank God you have a son, because you're going to raise another young man that is going to be like you, and we're like trying to get back to that, way of being where it's
Yeah.
not this delayed maturity anymore. Like we're trying to mature in our faith, and we might be a little bit older. We're trying to mature in our faith, but praise God that we're even trying,
Right. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's
'Cause
wisdom. Go ahead.
well, I just think we have like a little bit of a maturity problem. you know?
100% we have a maturity problem. I 100% agree. I remember when I was growing up, I would have older guys be like, yeah, Byron's 24 going on 30, at 32, 30, whatever. And I remember being like, that's interesting. Well,
Mhm.
okay, cool. But, and honestly, and that is just attributed to the fact that I just didn't really have my parents. And I literally from little kid ages was like, the Holy Spirit is my teacher. My dad is
Yes.
God, and I'm just going to try to listen to him and try to not trust myself and try to just do what
Praise
he
God.
wants me to do. It's the only reason I'm here. But like with what
Mhm.
you said, and I actually did the same type of thing. I went and had to get a passport because my parents wouldn't let me join the Marine Corps. I had to go to the DMV myself at 18, stand in line, get my own
Mhm.
passport or whatever the office was. But
Mhm.
masculinity is not a destination. Since we just tapped on
Mhm.
it, I'm just going to go a little bit in that direction. Masculinity is not a destination. Cats think that because they got a good paying job, because they were in the military, because they, went to war and or whatever their little thing is in their head, they think, oh, I'm a man now. Well, hey, homie, you know what? Every morning you wake up, that bank account's at zero. You're only as good as your next move. You need to be respectable first before you can command respect. And this is a daily operation, spiritual development. It's not a
Mhm.
destination. You may have literally healed someone yesterday, but what can you do today? Right? You're only as good
Right.
as your next move. And I think that mentality we need to bring back. Because I mean, in my industry with EP guys and bodyguards and stuff like that, they like to just sit back and be like, oh, well, I was a Night Stalker Death,
Yeah.
Jedi, and I'm like, that's
Mhm.
bro. That was 4 years ago. That was 5 years
Right.
ago. That was a decade ago. What are you
Right.
capable of today? And when's the last time you actually went to the range, or hit the mats
Right.
or, and then here we are.
It brings up the question about what is your identity?
Yeah.
Is your identity like I think we struggle with identity too, nowadays. And it's like, praise God that our identity is in Christ. And so our potential is boundless through him, right? We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. And we're made new by him and in him. So praise God for it, because I definitely needed to be made new when I found him. But I think, when you are living in the past, like the shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus said, remember Lot's wife, right? And do you remember what happened with
Got
Lot's
turned
wife
into
when
a pillar. Yeah, it turned into a pillar of salt because she disobeyed. She looked bad.
she looked back,
Yeah.
right? And so, every day, we wake up, we bind anything that's trying to keep us from our work that we have to do with God and for God. And then we go forward and we go out, and we seek his face and we don't seek our own glory. And I think when young men get tripped up, or men in general get tripped up, it's because it's a question of what are you putting your identity in? Because if it's in us, like we fizzle out, when we're talking about spiritual endurance, like we fizzle out. Our strength is not God's strength, you know? And so it's like when and I think if we wanted to relate it into shooting too, like I struggled too with, I'm like, what am I doing this for? And luckily for me, like I roll with God. So I'm like, I know a day's coming where my skills are going to be needed, for me. And then to help other people so that when the day comes, like they are equipped and they have skills and then they can hopefully kind of learn how to navigate through whatever's coming up. But making sure that we know our why and our who is super important,
Jade,
on that process.
trying
Yeah.
to have I'm trying to have a podcast about guns, okay? But we're like in all this
Sorry.
deep stuff. Yo, no, it's awesome. I mean like I'm trying not to go off because it's really good and it's what I spoke about on Saturday, like
Mhm.
the world is going to try to make you want to be a high value man. And I used to think I was a high value man. I started making six figures and covering 60 countries per year in private jets and 7 diamond hotels when I was 21 years old. Youngest dude,
Right.
rookie of the year, in the
Mhm.
EP industry. And what I had to learn is that I'm not a good God because the things I was doing during that time were going to land me in jail in a lot of ways. There were some
Yeah.
things that I was involved in, and so I started to see that they were going in the wrong path. I was going down the wrong paths and doing other things, and I had to have a come to Jesus moment, right, which changed my
Mhm.
life on the right path, of course. But the point is, one of the things you touched on was identity, and
Mhm.
if you don't your identity is going to come from intimacy. So
Mm,
who and what are you intimate with is going to inform your identity. You want those Jordans because you've been intimate with screens that have been telling you that the Jordans are what you want. Your identity, like the amount of time you're spending on this thing right here, the people, like is your female your source because that's where all your intimacy is aimed at, is your, is pop culture your source, is what you saw that's cool. These are the things that people are developing their identities around. And also your intimacy will inform you on your mission because you're going to go towards
right.
what you're looking at, especially if you're operating here through sight and logic and reason tethered to this reality and not through purpose and vision, the vision God puts in your heart. So
Right.
these are the things right now that are guiding culture and masculinity and femininity, actually, in my opinion. So it's really important to get that figured out because that's the only way you're
Mm,
going to do anything supernatural. It's the only way that I've created any of this is God told me what to do. He told me to go
mm,
bounce. He told me you're going to become a bodyguard. You're going to travel the world. Everyone else
mhm.
laughed at me. I walked my little black behind down to Hennessy's Tavern in Dana Point, where I was told because I knew his voice, because there was intimacy there, and
Yes.
had stratospheric success. And every victory I've had has come that way.
Praise God. So we
Yeah.
want to talk about in firearms.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Now we're halfway through this thing, but hopefully you guys got something from that. That's the real good stuff. That's the powerful,
Mhm.
life-changing stuff. I wanted to ask you, how does being armed as a female make you feel? Because I come into contact, let me put some lettuce and pickles and relish
Go
on it.
ahead.
And I come in
Onion.
contact, yeah, some onions. I like me some onions. So I come in contact with females, and they're approaching the equation of beginning to carry, and there's some emotions around it. And like, I just don't know anything about guns. Maybe there's fear there, and I know what I say and how we navigate it, but I want to hear from a female. How does
Okay.
being an armed woman in society, how does that, what are the feelings associated with that? How do you feel walking the planet with a gun on your head as a woman?
Mm. Definitely feel, well, I want to kind of preface this because, like, and I'll give you a little bit of backstory. So hopefully that this helps, like, women that are looking to get into carrying, and then also men who want to get their wives into it. Um, like I've been, competing and training for the last 7 years, right? And I didn't really start carrying every single day until the last year. And that's because A, I'm a rule follower, and B, I tend to procrastinate, but I've been praying against it, And so for years, I was like, I don't want to carry unless I have my LTC. Now, depending on where you live in the state of Texas, you can carry if you're a law abiding citizen who can own a firearm legally, and you don't have any reason why you couldn't you could carry without an LTC. But I moved every year, and was just kind of lazy about it. I carried a little bit in Idaho, but I was really slow to wanting to carry because it's a lot of responsibility, right? And you have to look at your lifestyle, like before you start. I wanted to do like some inventory, and I'm like, okay, is my temperament managed? Is my, habit, are they managed? My habits. And so I've been sober for almost 2 years. I'm not going out to bars drinking, right? So I know I can carry all the time. I have to be mindful about where I go, but there's a lot of responsibility that comes with carrying a firearm. And so I think a lot of women are hesitant towards doing it because if they don't have, I had the skill, right? Like I have this skill that you should have when you carry a firearm, but I didn't have the confidence in doing it, right? And so training is so important because so many women they're going to run scenarios in their head of, do I know what to do in the event of an emergency, right? And I've been in some situations where it was really not so comfortable, and I had the thought of, could I defend myself legally? What are the ramifications for this, years ago? And you don't want to be second guessing anything either. So the missing component is lack of knowledge, right? And so with women, being comfortable and confident is going to come with that knowledge piece. And it's also going to play into, what are you carrying? How are you carrying? Do you have options? But that's kind of down the rabbit hole. For me, I feel so much safer, right? Because when I travel a lot, I carry a firearm. And so there is this heightened, state though, because you're carrying a firearm. You have to be mindful of like, if something bad were to happen, do I have layers of safety, and do I have a strategy in the event of an emergency? And am I able to continue to modify that strategy, moment by moment? Because that's kind of, you become like a computer, that has to reassess everything all of the time.
Yep.
Which comes through training. And so for me, I feel way more confident, generally all the time, because I know that in the event of an emergency, if my life was being threatened, if somebody wanted to take my life, my body, that I would have a last resort to make sure that I could protect myself.
Right.
And then also I have the skills and the knowledge behind it to do it confidently. So I feel so much better doing it, but it does come with a lot of responsibility and a necessity to continue training. Like, it's not just like how, maturing or being a man, as you said, there's no end to that. There's no end to the training and the continuation of your skill set developing when you carry, in my opinion. That's just me though.
Yeah.
Because I see my flaws,
Yeah. No, 100%. I have people ask me, when I have this conversation, females, it's always like, all right, I'm thinking about carrying, but I'm kind of scared of guns. I've never shot a gun, da, 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 da. And I'm just like, listen, what gun should I carry? And I'm like, well, that's a conversation, but I think the more conversation is what training are you looking at getting? What's that, and making sure that it's good training, not from like someone with cargo pants on from the 80s. Cargo pants aren't bad, but y'all know y'all usually wear cargo pants trainers from the 80s. Anyways, but like, I'm just saying the training and the competence to become confident with that it's an extension of you is really the most important piece. The guns go bang these days. And when you have that confidence and competence, then all the things that you're experiencing before you walk through the doorway and put in the reps, they go away,
Right.
And so go ahead.
We have in the word, God has an expression, right? Which is, which of you, builds a house, but doesn't consider the cost, right? Like, when we be like with ladies that want to start this journey, I have an intro to pistol class and an intro to personal safety class that does. In the intro to pistol class, of course, it involves pistols, but we don't shoot in it. It's everything you need to know. Right. Intro to personal safety, at the very end, we talk about firearms, right? And that's the goal, but I end up talking about them a little bit early because everybody knows that I'm like the chick, right?
Right.
But, have you considered the cost? Because we see a lot of women that go in and they get their LTC and they buy a pistol, and then that's the extent of the work that they've carved out, that's what they considered was the cost, but that's not it. It's a journey. Like, it's a lifelong journey, and you don't have to become like a gun guy or like a gun girl to be carrying every day and continue that journey. However, you have to consider, am I going to actually see this through? Because the last thing you want is a lady that has purchased a pistol, is carrying it every day, never trains with it, and then it finds herself in a very dangerous situation with a firearm or knife that does not know how to use it, And so it's like, we have to make sure that we are considering the length of the journey before we even start it.
Yeah, I 100%. And I've been thinking about putting together some female protection type training, and
you should.
There's so much that goes into. Thank you. There's so much that goes into like the female protection strategy and even female like physical combat, like warfare. Like all warfare is built on deception. Yeah, like maybe, but like for sure for women, in my opinion, like proxemics is huge. How close that person is in your proximity. The reality that 1 in 4 women's been sexually assaulted, and like 80% of it's been from someone they know, right? So like that proximity factor is massive. And so having training to inform you about things like just the soft skills. So like I have the Civilian Protector Project, which is 70 hours of training from like all the cool kids, all the best dudes in the world. And people kind of discount it. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to learn online. I'm like, hell, listen, if we're able to have these conversations and you can understand all the knowledge that goes into the soft skills left of bang, it's going to not only cause you to not be there when something happens and show you how to navigate something before it happens, and then even partially during it happening, like there's just so much soft skill content that you kind of alluded to there that is like, especially for female warfare, like I'm pretty physically potent. Like I'm about 235 to 40 pounds, depending on what you catch. I can play with you a little bit. Like I can get hit in the face a couple times. I can like forgive you in the middle of a fight and like hold you and struggle and get slammed into things and stuff. And like I'm built for that, you know, but like women can't play those games. There's a lot that should go into the psychology and the social dynamics.
Yes.
And, you know,
in the preparatory phase, you know, like for me, I've taken courses and I've actually gotten certified to teach them what to do when a situation goes hands-on. And the thing is for me is I'm like, as a woman, the last thing I want is for it to go hands-on.
Right.
The last thing I ever want. And so I always say that's why I do the intro to personal safety, because I'm like, there are so many things, like your last line of defense is your firearm.
Right.
There are so many things that happen before and have to happen before. Because if you find yourself in this kind of situation, you know, is everything completely avoidable all the time? No. But can you create distance and time? And we have dogs, so we know like, and I love training my dog, but like the number one thing is distance with the dog. Same thing with us. Like we always want to create a gap. Distance equals time.
Yeah.
And so for women to understand, because women, I think also tend to be a bit more strategic in their thinking and thought processes, which is why like the intro to pistols course is cool. We don't even have to shoot because like they just want to know, how does it work? They don't even care to do the thing. They just want to know, how does it work? And once they know how it works, then they feel safe. Right. And I always think like women are like foxes, men are like bears. Right. So men super aggressive, foxes are really clever, you know, and they slip in and out. And like our strengths, we have to know what are our strengths. How do we play into them? And, you know, when we talk about spiritually, like the woman is the neck that turns the spiritual head, which is the man. Right. And so we know that we're inclined. We have intuition. We have the Holy Spirit who speaks to us really directly. Not that he doesn't speak to men in that way, but women have such a keenness to identifying what's going on around them. So sharpening those skills to me is just as important as the whole carrying a firearm and knowing how to use it.
And also women's number one tool, I think, in the physical is social intelligence, right? So like you're not as physically potent. And so since the beginning of time, and if we went into the biblical for a second, women have been given influence, right? That's what turns the head. But a lot of that, the power of influence, men have been given dominion, right? So, but a lot of that is understanding what's going on socially, right? You get a group of women, like, and you listen to what they talk about, it's a lot of it is social, like what's going on in the social sphere of that world. And so when you're in these situations and your female skills are starting to be like, hey, socially, like this is not cool, this is not comfortable. Read Gavin DeBecker's book, what is it, The Gift of Fear, right? And it talks about he interviews victims and they had a feeling something was off. They had a feeling they shouldn't trust that guy. They had a feeling. And that is a skill. Sometimes it's the Holy Spirit, and also sometimes it is what you've been designed to be able to pick up, because since the beginning you can't play with things like how we can. And so that social skill can save your life, being able to read those cues and pick up on what's going on. So I think that's huge. And then understanding proxemics of weapons, right? A firearm is a distance weapon. You need distance to implement that weapon. A knife is a close weapon. So understanding when to use what, that's another conversation. But anyways, go ahead.
And how? Because for me, I'm like, you know, and of course, like I'm trained in firearms, so this is like obvious. But even if I wasn't, I would much rather get into a fist fight than get into a knife fight, or get into a gunfight than get into a knife fight. Because now you're talking about, you know, brute strength, add in a sharp weapon, and we're just like these thin-skinned, you know.
Well, go ahead. Okay.
Go ahead.
So also the other tool that women, I think, overlook sometimes because of a self-consciousness that has maybe been conditioned in or out of them is the massive tool of social high ground, right? Tapping into the masculine psychology of us wanting to be heroes and of us being designed to be providers and protectors. So I get DMs sometimes. Moms are like, "Yo, this dude was following me around and me and my kids around at Walmart yesterday. Like, I didn't know what to do. It was freaky. Like, what kind of training can I have?" Just don't for 1 second underestimate the power of going to the store manager and saying, "That dude is following me around. I have seen him too many times," or, "Hey, I don't feel comfortable. This guy's making me uncomfortable. I don't want to be rude. I don't know what his intentions are, but like, would you mind just making sure I get to my car?" You know, and tapping into that, because you're able to, as a female, you're able to elicit that response from men who stuck into a Starbucks and grab a guy that looks masculine. He might need to be, you know, I don't want to crack too many political jokes, but he's grab a guy that looks masculine and say, "Hey, would you mind just, I feel like there's been someone following me, and would you mind just making sure that I'm safe? I'm going to call, you know, whoever, or just keeping an eye on me while I sit over here in the corner." Like, these are some of your most valuable tools, you know, fight fire with fire. And that's huge.
And understanding that we have tools, you know, and I think, you know, if we can get women falling in love with the amount of natural tools that they already have at their disposal and teaching them to get to know themselves and those things, that, like with the interpersonal safety course, I'm like, you're going to leave here safer. Right. Because you're going to have a different view of the world.
Yeah.
And you're going to hopefully be encouraged knowing that you have more going for you than you do against you if you know how to strategically, with knowledge, set yourself up for success.
Yep.
And, you know, it's a process. So like for women that are wanting to get into it, it's like, you know, just enjoy that process, because you're going to get to know a lot about yourself in it. And hopefully you're going to be encouraged because you see, you know what, I don't have to be a victim. Right. You know, I'm not starting it off as a victim. You know, I'm starting it off as somebody that's capable and able to do what I need to do to be able to ensure that my children and I are safe.
Yep.
You know,
100%.
When my husband's around and when he's not, you know, or if it's a single woman or if her kids are grown, or, you know, it's fun.
100%. No, it's fun and it's empowering. Like, you feel better when you're like, I have a plan. I know some things. I got some skills. And like for us men, you know, like we run around the world and we don't think about these things as much because we're not the most hunted sex on the planet with one of the most valuable natural resources between our legs, you know, running around on the planet. Like, the human trafficking industry is massive and it's mostly aimed at females. And I don't need to prove this to you. So, you know, one of the biggest things for us protector dudes who have all the skills and have no fear is understanding that when you're not in your house, she is your security detail for your seed and for your kids. And so making it a priority to equip her, and also being a leader. Like, you might have to for a little while be like, "Hey, babe, do you have your firearm? Where is it? Is it at the bottom of your purse, underneath all of your things, or is it on you? Hey, babe, I love you. You know, get mad at me if you want to, but where's your stuff? Maybe we do some dry firing." You know what I'm saying? Let's do the things, you know, and being like, I'm going to make it a priority to make sure that my female's equipped. This is what you should carry. Maybe keep it here and here, work it out, but be ready. Because that's part of your leadership responsibility. That's the game.
Yeah. And I think for me, I see like a lot of men that sometimes are discouraged. And I'm like, don't you forget that you have a lot of options as well.
Yeah.
And asking her, what do you need? What would you like? You know, doing things for her. Like, you know, if you don't like your pistol, let's get you a new one.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't know what that looks like, let's get you instruction and find, you know, a lady that can help you pick that out, you know, and let me get you options for carrying. Let me give you a little challenge. Be like, go pick out an outfit that you can carry appendix in.
Yep.
You know, or go pick out an outfit that you can carry at 3:00 in. And like, I've been doing this thing with myself where I'm like, I'm going to try to put together outfits that are so unassuming, like that you wouldn't even be able to tell that I'm wearing, that I'm carrying firearm. I'm wearing a dress. I'm wearing hot pink shorts and a yellow, like cut off sweatshirt. And I look like I belong in the 80s. And I'm like, nope, I'm packing heat. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but like finding a way to make it fun And I think too that everybody should understand that there should be options, right? And there's more desirable options than there are, you know, there are other less desirable options. Like I'm not a fan of purse carrying. There are ways that they can carry in a purse, but I just am like, if you can, carry on body.
Yeah.
They make fanny packs. So if you have a super sporty gal, like there's a fanny pack that she can use. It's got a Kydex holster in it. It's super safe. It's got a rip. It's super easy to deploy. They make, belly bands and holsters that sit really flat to your body. And they have, like there's all kinds of options. They have shorts that you can carry in a dress in.
Yeah.
Which is crazy on the inside of your thigh. I'm like, this is nuts because, part of why I didn't carry so many years ago is I was like, I don't have any options to carry in.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you do. And we spend money on, some things that we could really, kind of what's more important than spending money on, adding more gear to your arsenal to make sure that you are being more safe,
Right.
So I'm like if I get a new pistol, I'm getting 2 or 3 new holsters for that pistol.
100%. You're going to get them anyways. Like just start off with some options. And on what you said, one of the best things that I did, I just enlisted me and my wife in firearms training pipeline. My boy Fabio Spinella had a 6-month train up. You train one Saturday per month. He sends you the curriculum online. You get your dry fire regiment. You get your carry tips. You get your little bit of medical, a little bit of tourniquet, this and the next thing, and then we went through it together. And that way we could be side by side, learning, training. She can see your competence. You can help her with hers. And you have someone who's there like I'm a great instructor of many things and I'm an accomplished shooter for sure, but at the same time I was like I'm not like the best instructor when it comes to pistol instruction. Like I will sit there. I have a tendency to be like, why am I not hitting the target? I told you to do. How about you just do what I told you to do and you'll hit the target. I told you how to hit the target. Whenever you're ready, like I can be that sometimes. So I'm like, let me just plug her into someone. Is the art of instruction is not, you can be a great operator, but being an instructor is a different skill set. So invest in her and get her some training, and it's even more bonding to do that training side by side with her. So massive value there. 100%.
Yeah. Something that Rudy and I have had to do is, I've had, because firearms is my work. So I've had to set aside my work for time for us to go to the range and be a couple and me not be the instructor, me not be the, person that needs to film and get content out and do this and that and the other. And so, definitely being open to changing how you perceive different things like training and stuff like that.
No, I love it. That's super important. And it should be a bonding experience because if something happens, you might be side by side getting down. Yeah, I'm saying so. Let's go. Okay, so building training into lifestyle. I have a hard out in 30 minutes. I just realized. So building training into lifestyle. Like, what would you say? Someone gets a firearm. What do you think? Like, what the habits should they look at implementing?
I definitely think dry fire is huge. And I have a dry fire training app with 3 months worth of training outlined for pistol, and I'm gonna add more to it later, but soon. What I've noticed with the dry fire training app is people can have all of the information available to them and still not have the self-starting motivation to get it done. Right. So for me, I'm like, you make it a priority to brush your teeth, hopefully. You make it a priority to feed yourself and have clean clothes. And, you make it a priority to walk your dog or whatever. Making training a priority. And I do 15 minutes. I'm like, look, I'm going to do 15 minutes of dry fire. I'm not going to do a second more, right? Because that's all I want to do. And I'm going to do it 3 days a week. I'm going to put it in my calendar. I'm going to set a timer. I'm going to do 15 minutes. It doesn't even, the dry fire app helps to know what should I be training, but pick something, and I think, if you're going to be carrying every day, do, 15 minutes of draw cycles out of your appendix or your whatever holster that you're going to be carrying around and, train. And then just setting realistic goals of how in accomplishing them is huge with the training portion of it too. Like go to the range. If it's only once a month, go once a month, set a timer. I'm only going to go 30 minutes. I'm only going to do 50 rounds. So I'm going to make it count. You know, there's a lot of people, we can make an excuse for anything, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, let's make an excuse to train.
If you do 15 minutes of dry firing 3 times a week, I'm just telling you, you're going to be better than 90% of the American human population in like in 3 months. Like you'll be better than ever. You're going to be, that's the cheat code. You go to the range to confirm. You do your practice at home. You know,
Byron, and I love that you said that you go to the range to confirm, because that's literally my freaking life, right? But even dry firing for 15 minutes a day once a week is more than what most people are doing. So it's like, and it doesn't even have to be 15 minutes, it could be 5, you know, it could be 10, could be 20, whatever. But like understanding the reward for having the discipline to do it, for one, is going to breed more discipline.
Right.
You know, because you're going to be like, this isn't so bad. And hopefully you store that up in your mind. So then when you have to go to train again, you're like, I actually loved it, you know, and you develop it into a habit.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard at first. It's just like when you haven't been to the gym in 20 years and you want to start going again, it's going to be hard. But just like I heard one of the trainers was like, just put on your gear. Like, or I'm putting it in terms of shooting, but you know, just drive to the gym and sit in the parking lot and then decide if you want to go in and work out. You're already there. You already did the hard thing, which is get there, put on your gear, see if you want to dry fire. You're already wearing it.
Take the next step. Just take the steps. Awesome. Yeah. I love it. What about big guns versus little guns? Let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's get into the SHOT Show info of it.
For carrying?
Yeah, for ladies, you know, carrying big guns versus little guns. What do you? Do you have one gun you roll with? Do you have one for different outfits, different looks? Like, how do you?
Of course I do.
Of course, right?
Well, and I'm not big on, like Byron, I'm not like the gun guy, right? Like I'm not like I train with the same double stack 1911 that I've trained with for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And I carry the same Glock 43X that I've had for however long, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's Miyamoto Musashi. Don't have more weapons than you need. Be intimate with the weapons you have.
Right. And they're not like these, like my rifle that I run, which I've been running for almost a year now, is like a $700 rifle that I've added a couple things to, you know, so I'm not like big on you have to spend all this money. Like staccato, I'm like, dude, if you want, do that. You don't have to do that.
I like my staccato.
You don't have to do all that. And like, you know what I mean? And is it nice? It's nice. But for a woman, it's bulky. It's bulky. And so for me, I'm like, look, I have options now. I just got the Hellcat Pro Comp. I really like it.
Okay.
I'm big on have a full size pistol for training, have a concealed carry pistol for carrying, use both in training.
Yes.
I'm kind of like the abstract where I'm like, do a majority of your training with your full size pistol and then do 20% of it with your carry pistol towards the end of the day and maybe shoot like 5 rounds of your defensive ammo at the end of your session so you remember it. But if it's between a full size and a carry size pistol, get something to carry with and train with it and learn to enjoy it. It's not going to be a fun time, which is why I like having a full size pistol because you have less recoil. For me, I have big hands. Like you have more meat in your hands. Like you can just kind of go and train and full size mag and just have a good time. But also they're making some awesome, like the Hellcat Pro Comp is a 17 round magazine.
Let's go.
17. And it's not any bigger than my Glock 43X. I actually think it might be smaller.
Wow.
And so it's like, which my Glock 43X only carries 10. So, you know, I think though with women, just finding a pistol that you're comfortable with, not giving up because you haven't developed the skills, like the strength yet. Because a lot of women will be like, it's so hard for me to rack the slide. I hate this pistol. And it's like, you're going to develop strength over time. We can appreciate training, like, you know, me and you with our freaking, right? We're like, yeah, I want to get strong, right? But, but ladies should know that there is a learning curve. Strength develops over time. Dry fire is huge on developing strength. Huge. Like if you can't rack your slide at first, you know, dry fire for a month, you're gonna be able to rack the shit outside. So just stick with it.
It's also familiarity. Like, you know what I mean? Like some of it is strength development, but some of it's like, okay, this is how hard I need to push. And then you start to be like, okay, yeah, reps fix all that.
Same thing with trigger. Like, you know, oh, like this trigger, I fucking suck at shooting this trigger. It's like, well, get to know the trigger. Take your time. You know, like it's more of a, you know, I don't think that we have to make ourselves fit with a pistol that sucks. But if you have a good pistol, learn to get to know yourself as the shooter of that pistol. Right. Every pistol is different.
Yep.
You know, so that's why I really do like kind of the, you know, the Echelon and the Hellcat are really similar, right? They're not the same, but they're very similar. Glock 43X and a Glock 17, very similar, or 34, or 17L, because they just brought it back, which I'm so excited about.
Hey.
Love it. But, you know, or a SIG, you know, their grip is the same. So it's just kind of the crossover. But I'm just like, please get a concealed carry pistol and carry it.
Yeah.
You know, find one that you like and carry it. If you find that you hate it, go get a different one and swap it out. Like shields, you can exchange your firearms. Like it's not a big deal.
Right.
You know, it shouldn't be a death sentence. So find something that you really like, train with it, carry it.
Love it. 100%. That's the perfect answer. Find something you like, train with it, carry it.
Carry
100%.
it. Yes.
What would you say about, so do you have a favorite style of carrying? How do you approach that? Is it different holsters, different days, different outfits? Do you do some reps before you roll out? Like, I feel like one of the biggest equations women need to approach when they begin carrying is like, how am I going to carry this, still look like a girl? And I also am not a big proponent for off-body carry. Like maybe if you're going to like a black tie event, it's like, okay, today maybe
make your man carry the pistol.
Risk.
You know, make your man carry the pistol in his jacket. You know what I mean? Like, no, but there, I am like, you know, different outfit, different need.
Yeah.
I don't think that women should have to change. I tried, Byron. Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna try wearing like a cotton button down. I'm like, this sucks. I look like I'm 50 years old. Like I'm not doing this. You know.
So what works? Yeah, this is why I'm asking the question. So this is good.
Yeah. I really do like appendix carrying. I will do some dry fire before I leave the house.
Yeah.
If I don't have time to spend like 5 minutes to dry fire, then I will just do a few reps. Yeah, right. I do carry one in. I do carry one in the chamber. So if you're somebody that carries one in the chamber, you don't feel comfortable, you know, doing a draw, knowing that your finger's not going to get on the trigger, unload it, do some dry fire, make the time. You know, we can time manage. I really like planning out my outfits the day before if I know I'm going to be going somewhere in an outing so that I don't have to feel so rushed of, you know, I want to wear this, but I want to carry. And so, and, you know, I'm not big on the off-body carry thing. I don't think that a fanny pack is technically off body. It's not technically on body, but it's not off body.
Yeah, but it's like being in a belt. It's like the next closest thing to having something in your waistband. That's
right.
Like the problem with off body carry is if you're already not the most physical potent human in the room, they can just take your stuff. Right. And the other thing is you got to make sure you don't leave it. Like, you know, get up to talk to your friend and your gun's sitting right there, you know, and also there's purse snatchers and like someone grab you by your purse, throw you and take the purse. Like these things happen all the time.
Yeah. And you're kind of relying on, if you're doing like a purse carry, you're relying on the fact that you may have time to be able to deploy your firearm before something happens, which if there's anything that we know, like with our dogs, I always use the dogs. I have an e-collar on my dog. Do I have to use it every day? No. Does he ever leave the house without it? Never. Because it's not about an if, it's about when am I prepared?
Yeah.
And we're always going to retort back to our like most common denominator of how we've trained. So for me, I'm like, you know, plan your outfits the night before if you can, you know, and have a couple of ways of carrying that you don't have to plan. Like my fanny pack's great for when I go to the gym. I'm usually in athletic wear, fanny pack, not unassuming or not assuming at all.
Right.
And then just, you know, making sure too, before you leave the house that you can actually draw from that, because there's been ways that I've carried where, you know, I'm like, I just can't get to my pistol. Like I can't do this effectively. So I've got to scrap it, you know? And so it's preparatory is important. Having options is huge. I always have an appendix carry, a 3 o'clock, because I love a 3 o'clock carry.
Really? Okay.
I just effing love it. Like I've always loved it, but I love it. Like I love an outside the waistband cover garment, freaking sweep pull. We're good to go.
Wardrobe options.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the biggest things because females, one of you guys' like most important things is appearance. And so I get it, you know.
Something I did recently, and I did take video of it, but I'm going to look at it because the lighting in a dressing room is just horrible. I don't know why they do it to us.
Really?
But
You would think they'd have really good lighting in a dressing room where they want to sell clothes.
Nope, it's horrible. I'm like, I got to go in with a spray tan and a full face of makeup to try to feel better about what I'm looking like, But what I did do was I brought my carrying pistol and my holsters, and I went on a mission to find some clothing that would be good for summer that is unassuming that I could carry in. And that was helpful because I didn't change my style. I wanted to go shop, but I wanted to see if I could find anything that would really be conducive for carrying, but I needed to bring my pistol to do it. So that way I could kind of see, I'm actually carrying, does this look good? And so for women, something that might be helpful is, take your pistol, you can, unload it like one out of the chamber before you get there. And, or when you get in the parking lot, just take the one round out of the chamber and then go and bring the things that you would use to carry. So like have a belt if you're going to do a 3 o'clock carry, have a belly band with your holster if you're going to be doing some appendix carry stuff, and then go in there and actually try on different clothing with your pistol and your holsters and stuff to see, would I actually like this? Would I carry in this? Does it work? Right. And that's a good way to kind of like, especially with seasonal stuff like summer, I found some really awesome like dresses, and I found this tank top that's like slit down the middle, which is like, and it's not just a tank top, it's like almost like a dress. It's like long, but it was so cool because I'm like, I can 3 o'clock carry with this tank top on and just French tuck one side of it. You can't even tell that I'm carrying in it. And it's so cool. And I can just sweep and get it out of the way. It's like almost like they designed it for carrying. And it's one of my favorite things that I have in my closet. You know what I mean?
Let's go.
And it's cute. Yeah. So cute.
Heck yeah. So. No, that's awesome. We do that a lot when we're getting suits tailored and different things like that as well, just to make sure that everything fits. And it's just part of the game. I think the reality of this is if you're going to carry a firearm, you do need to modify your lifestyle a little bit. Yeah. But the ultimate payoff, and we all saw a video last week of like a woman who stabbed a kid in a parking lot with her mom, and the woman was being prosecuted, and she's like smiling about it and all this stuff. And people ask me sometimes, Byron, why do you carry? And for me, obviously I do it as it's a professional requirement, but additionally, even if it wasn't a professional requirement, at the end of the day, I never want myself or people I love to be at the mercy of evil people. Period. Right. And I think that's what being meek is all about. And I think that's what being a good person is all about. If you're harmless, like all your kindness and niceness and stuff, that's just a protection strategy. If you do not have the ability to protect yourself, defend yourself, or to use the tool of violence to protect and defend all that's good in the world, then the evil people will run the world, as we see in a lot of like massive cities and all around the world. I've been to war zones multiple times. I know what happens.
Yes.
And so I'm like, I will not allow my family or myself to be at the mercy of evil people. And so the risk versus reward, the reward's massive.
The risk is minimal.
Right. Exactly.
Like so minimal.
Or even the headache. The headache is minimal. Right? Like it's not comfortable having all this competition in the front of my pants right now. You know what I mean? But like the fact, like when I walk the earth and I'm able to literally just be like, hey, if something happens in this room, in this building, I have a very big say. Like I have a say on what happens. And that feeling, if someone rolls up on me and my kids while I'm trying to put them in the car and buckle them in the car seat, and I have groceries and all these things are happening, and I'm armed as a woman, I have a say. I have a say on what happens. And that for me, it's time to figure it out. Yeah.
And there's just like, I think there's this big misconception with a lot of women. They're like, well, I've never shot before. I don't know if I'll ever get there. And it's like, no, you'll get there quicker than you think. But we have to frame it like, every day that you think about going to the gym and don't actually go is another day that you could have been a step closer to your goal and you're not. Yeah. So it's like, just being willing to start and learn on the fly and do, what you can, and know that, you're talking about working with people that are people. Like I would rather do a private one-on-one, lose money on it, knowing that I have a woman that's going to be safer in the world than not do the one-on-one because she can't afford my prices. And that's why I'm actually knocking my prices down. And why I'm going to be doing some like for single mom courses that are going to be free, because it's like, there's people like me and you that want others to be safe and be proactive in their personal protection plan and be their own bodyguard.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And that's not a concept. That's a reality. You are your own bodyguard. You've been the whole time. Like, cops are minutes away. We love cops. I love my homies that are cops, but they're police. They're here to enforce the law, right? They're not your personal security detachment. No. If you can get a phone call off, they're going to get there as quick as they can. And the whole thing's going to last seconds, right? So this is a basic human need. You need food, you need water, you need shelter, you need protection. And
and women misunderstand too, like, you know, the power of carrying around a flashlight when you're in the dark, you know, like there's, you know, these things that you learn in the journey where you're like, oh, I thought that this was going to be this like big, scary green monster. And you realize, no, and like me, anyone can do it. When I started shooting, I was like 110 pounds, no muscle on me, didn't know what the heck I was doing. And like, I figured it out, you know, so like everyone can figure it out. And it's not rocket science either. You know, like I dropped out of high school. God bless me, you know, which I praise him for every day. Didn't have to do it. And so it's like, if he can take somebody like me who really could have been going one way or the other and then take me this way, then he can turn you into a machine.
Yep. 100%. I love it. This has been amazing. It's always amazing when I come in contact with you, Jade. And
I know you too.
I'm proud of you, all the awesome things that you've done, all the awesome things that you stand for in the world. Tremendous value. A lot of the things we spoke about, you guys, if you follow Jade, you're going to see on her platforms how she's carrying, how she's dry firing. She's into long guns, all the things. And also she'll feed your soul, which is hard to find on IG. We ain't just cool people, you know, we ain't here for the likes. We're here to really like have an impact. So make sure you guys follow her, and more to come. There's more questions I have for you, so I'll bug you, you know, here in a little bit. Maybe we'll do another run. And I hope to see you on Jesus and Beers again as well at some point. Let's whip it on. And
we'll do it. Well, now we've got Jesus and Wine coming, because now we've got a girl gang, which I feel blessed to have been a part of, like Jesus and Beers. But I'm like, I know that the table that I want to sit at is with the ladies.
With the ladies. Let's go. I love it. And we'll tell people where they can find you and all the madness.
Okay, so I just started YouTube, and the handle is Jade Struck Official, and I'm doing a lot of discussions on carrying. Like, I have a new video coming out pretty soon here of like what to do when you get your first pistol. Like, what are the follow through actions? A lot of stuff on training, dry fire, like 15-minute dry fire sessions are on there. So YouTube is just now up and running, and then Instagram at Jade Struck, and I don't go on Facebook, so don't try to find me. I mean, you can try to find me, but I mean, I might post every like year. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I should do better, but
here we are. All right. Awesome.
Thanks for everything.
Thank you. Thanks for being you and letting the Lord use you and impacting this world in a positive way. Looking forward to all of it. All right.
God bless you, Byron. Thanks for everything.
Likewise. Boom.
When it comes to the technology you use to protect your home, there's nothing better than Deep Sentinel. AI-driven, human-monitored technology that will keep you and your family safe for the same price you're paying for whatever Ring doorbell system you have. Check out Deep Sentinel. It's such an honor to join forces with these guys. They should be in every single house in the world. Get real-time Overwatch for you and your loved one. And for 10% off, depending on when you're watching this, don't forget to use code Byron at checkout. Boom! Quick shout out to our sponsor, Staccato. My first pistol sponsor. I've been sponsored by a lot of companies, right, over the years. But when it comes to pistol, that's my bread and butter. Pistol is something I believe in. You know, I'm a competitive shooter. You know, we're shooting anywhere from, 800 rounds a month type of thing, right? So Staccato, being what I believe, is one of, if not the most complete handguns you can put in your hand. It's got every component that a handgun could have, should have. They're actually extremely dependable now that they've made some changes, and these things are straight up tack drivers. If you're looking for a pistol that will do as much of the work for you as a piece of hardware can, obviously you have to have the marksmanship and all the different things, but different guns perform at different levels. And I want to say that Staccato is one of By far, for sure, take it from a competitive shooter, we're shooting the highest volumes of rounds constantly right now. Not used to have a background guy, but like right now, when you go shoot, you're gonna see certain brands. Staccato is one of, if not the highest performing firearm that is both CCW, duty ready, and also competitive ready. So I want to give them a shout out. If you guys are looking for a good handgun to build your skills on top of, go check out Staccato. Much love and respect. Yo, if you enjoyed that episode and you like learning things like that, I want to encourage you to go to Protector Nation, build a profile, get in the Civilian Protector Project. This is where you can learn from these guys, live Zoom calls. You can see the full modules that you just watched, and you can become part of a community. It's the first social media platform for protectors where we can get to know each other, we can network, we can learn together. We do live Zoom calls with different SMEs every single month. There's so much packed in there. I'm in there. It's an honor, it's a privilege. Looking forward to working together to make the world a safer place by helping good people to become more willing, capable, and prepared. Protector Nation, Civilian Protector Project, let's go.